is.
That's 1,300, 1,000 on the futures.
Yeah, I was looking at 2x6s, 8-foot 2x6s, $19 each.
Right? You're like,
What?
That's like, do that one later. I mean, do that later.
Yeah, I'll do that when the price goes down, or I'll mill a tree somewhere out on my property.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's nuts. 100 CD plywood, $100 a sheet.
Okay, we are streaming. We've got 1 minute for Brian to come on. We do have enough for a forum though.
How was vacation?
Nice. Nice. I picked the right week.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be 100 tomorrow down there.
Wow.
And it was only in the 80s. So.
I did not know that you were the city or the treasurer for the city of Winona. You didn't.
So we are required to have a quorum for work meetings that are open?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, I guess we'll go ahead and open up, and if I see Brian trying to get in, I'll let him in.
Sounds great.
Maybe let me text him the meeting info. He's always asks for that.
So it seems to me, if I've got this right, we were going to go through what actually has changed, which is that document that Cindy, that Cindy sent. Because it seems to me our presentation is really just the contents of that. You know,
Did you see Brian's email where he?
I did.
Well, can we go through my 4 questions and get those off the table?
Sure.
So section 4, 403. There's a word lined out. That I wasn't sure what to do with.
Whereabouts in that?
Well, it's 4, so it's
It says that, doesn't it?
4.03, yeah.
4.03. Is that?
Item F.
I don't show an
Oh,
F.
hold on, I'm looking.
Yeah.
Oh, outdoor storage space or retail space provided this site.
There it is. I'm sorry, it's letter F. It's letter F.
F1, yeah.
403 F.
Reduce is changed to eliminate.
Yeah, so I just wanted to confirm that I'm getting rid of the word reduce.
Well, eliminate's a really strong word.
Eliminate is a strong word.
And so what happens if it takes a 9-foot fence to obscure something? Is that now have a problem with fence heights and such?
You have to get a permit.
You could put reduce as much as reasonably possible.
And that does allow recourse for going and having it looked at and say that's not enough yet.
Yeah.
And that's kind of in the eye of the beholder on the word reduce. Interpretation.
Get fancy and say significantly mitigate.
Or you could say eliminate as much as reasonably possible. And that does give the hint that you want it gone, but it doesn't make you do something that's unreasonable. Like you said, build a 9-foot fence or a 10-foot fence to hide something.
Yeah.
What's the consensus?
So that's retail outside storage space or sales space. So is that a car dealership or a
So, okay, well, think of it as Rick and Tanya Lovell, and they have all their bark dust and stuff that they store outside too.
They're on a commercial property. Wow.
Well, I mean, eliminate as reasonably as possible works for me.
I like the way that sounds too.
Sounds like it has more strength than reduce, but not quite so.
Okay. All right. So 1702.
Did you talk to the guy? This Eric guy?
I know, right?
No, I just had circled that because it seemed like it was just a tack on, but
So it's item C, the last of item C is what the question is.
So that's a short subdivision. So that means somebody in town's gonna divide their. Right,
Well, I think, Eric, your question really is why is it here and not other places as well?
and if it's here, it should be like in every paragraph, because that's kind of an obvious.
Right.
It didn't seem to, it felt like an add-on.
Well,
Am I reading that wrong?
I think it's trying to deal with short subdivisions specifically. So it's in the right section.
I could understand a big subdivision where, you're gonna make sure that you've got sidewalks
Well,
and
big
stuff, but-
subdivision, you're going to require that in the planning stage
Right,
anyway.
Right, so what does this mean for a short subdivision? Are you putting in sidewalks?
Well, you may need to.
That's,
I mean, okay, let's say somebody buys
That's not
that lot
Toledo-
up
that's
there
not
that's
Toledo
a
like-
half an acre. That on Hemlock. And he raises the house and now he can build 4 houses on, on 11,000 square foot lots or 10,000 something.
mhm.
Is there a possibility he's gonna need to build a sidewalk in front of those to? I'm almost thinking he might have to.
But Hemlock terminates at 505, which has no sidewalks.
No, what I'm saying is that for the safety of the residents there,
Yeah, but this particular statement is walking conditions for students that only walk to and from school. So that Hemlock example, once you're at 505, the kids are on their own anyway.
Yeah, it's not like.
I don't know.
build a footbridge over 505.
circulate copies of the proposed short plat to the city engineer, planning commission, or the agencies as necessary for their approval or disapproval as to appropriate provisions for public health, safety, or general welfare for, but not limited to, drainage, potable water, sanitary sewer, streets, and to ensure safe walking conditions for students who only walk. So it's an and, but it's it could be an either or in that.
Well, but doesn't safety and general welfare cover everything past that?
I'm trying to think how that made it in there in the first place.
Well, that's why I circled it. It looked like a gratuitous add. And I'd hate for a future, group body that's going through this is going to start making people stick little 1-lot sidewalks in everywhere, because they're already paying a lot for water, which we need them to do.
So Eric, maybe the proposal is to nix everything beyond general welfare.
Streets.
After welfare,
Yeah, and the sentence there.
I think you're right.
I'm a fan of that.
I'm a fan of that.
Nora?
It makes more sense.
Okay. Thank you.
0.08 C.
And then okay. 2008 letter C. I just wanted to confirm that the wording in that section covers the discussion about developer agreements of conditions.
So are we in major? Is that the major subdivision section? Yeah.
Yes. I think that my recollection of the last meeting was that you guys were
Bluetooth pairing.
basically the first sentence, and any other provision regarding public health, safety, and welfare, kind of as a catch-all, where if you guys had, if there was a wish list and you wanted to pursue that in negotiations with the developer, that this would cover that.
I think that negotiation would occur far before the final meeting.
Okay. Oh, that sentence is here too, Eric, in 2003A, the students walking.
This is for finaling, though. This is, you understand what final plat approval is on that?
Right, I'm sorry, I actually scrolled back up to the beginning of criteria for preliminary plat approval, seeing if there was something there. Or if you guys aren't interested in pursuing that sort of thing. Brian's trying to log in and is saying another meeting is in session. Are you seeing him, Michelle?
Oh, no, I'm not seeing him at all.
Okay.
No.
Do you want him to call me and put me on speakerphone, or we're not gonna go up that fast?
Just a second.
Did you give him the right codes? It's so weird. I call it another meeting session.
I don't know who wrote this.
This one in session.
So the question is, are you wanting to work in developer agreement of conditions anywhere in this document?
Well, that's going to be a preliminary plat approval.
Right, so I scrolled back up and there doesn't seem to be any, well, I guess,
I'm thinking that A tries to cover that
right,
because it's a laundry list of possible things that you could go into.
okay. In this particular case, it doesn't say, but not limited to. Oh, it is. Is it? Yes, it does. Sorry.
I have a,
In section 11, it goes over subdivision requirements for improvements.
Well, if you guys think there's enough teeth here to be able to tiptoe into those waters when the time comes, so be it.
I think there is already.
Okay.
From that standpoint, the planning commission is going to have its say. There's going to be a public hearing on it, so we're going to take public questions on what they feel about the project, and we get to go back and huddle again before we make the recommendation to the city council. And the conditions of approval should have been long negotiated before we go to the city council. So that's we would never get there unless we acceded to that.
Okay,
The 20.08 is actually finaling your job. That's when you've done your punch list, what they call a punch list, when they come out and they examine the sidewalks and the concrete for cracks, and they, give you a laundry list of little things they want you to fix or redo because poor workmanship, poor quality, et cetera, before they're going to sign off on the subdivision.
okay,
This does allow, what that's actually doing is allowing the city to accept, in lieu of that final, a bond guaranteeing the completion of those improvements.
Very helpful to have you on. the-
what was that, Eric?
Said it's very helpful to have him on the.
I know, right? Okay, well, then I guess my question is moot then. And then last on the list is section 20 subdivisions. And that I had a note about lot sizes being 6,000 square feet. And I just wanted to confirm that that's what you guys agreed to.
Yes. In the subdivision area.
Yeah, the 6,000 was in idea of the urban growth.
Correct.
So you're going to put that as a subsection D in 20.03, right?
And it currently is. I have the subdivision meets a minimum of 6,000 square feet per lot.
Very good.
Hey, Dennis.
I can hear you.
Okay, great.
That would be Brian. Okay.
I didn't understand 21.03.
Michelle answered that question. Apparently, you guys are filling out an application for the changes that you're making to this document. But
We are, huh?
Michelle's going to take care of that.
Okay.
Fun.
I'm sorry. And then one last one. If you wanted to take a look at the definition of bed and breakfast, does that definition need to be updated based on the parking changes that you guys made?
Well, what I've got in my notes here, I have under B, bed and breakfast inns provided that the owner or renter on the inn lives on premise. Then line 2 is crossed out. And then,
I'm talking about the definition.
Definition.
The end of the document, bed and breakfast as a definition.
Definition, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
.72, bottom of the page.
Thank you.
My suggestion would be a residence where lodging with or without meals is provided and off-street parking is available for each room rented.
Do we define that here, or do we define that in the document?
I thought we covered the one space in.
Well, yeah, but it now contradicts this definition.
Well, I would agree. I was going to say on definition, a residence that has guest rooms where lodging with or without meals is provided
Okay.
and
And
doesn't specifically.
We don't need to say anything about parking here.
Well, it's covered under the other one.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Do we know why some things have asterisks next to them?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No?
No.
Could not remember
That
at all.
clarifies it.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, that was it on my list.
Yeah, I tried to make rhyme or reason of it, just to go with a certain section or certain headings. I don't know.
So Eric, you want me to keep blathering? Oh, you're frozen. Frozen, frozen, frozen. Oh, now you're back.
Well, I tried to get a hold of some architectural review boards at various cities I've done business with before. And of course, they're all on minimum staffing and nobody's available for anything unless you want to leave a message and hope to get a phone call back, which you don't. But I did print out the city of Palo Alto's architectural review board statement, and it's pretty short. Promoting orderly and harmonious development in the city, enhance the desirability of residents or investment in the city, encourage the attainment of the most desirable use of land and improvements, enhance the desirability of living conditions upon the immediate site or in adjacent areas, promote visual environments which are of high aesthetic quality and variety, which at the same time are considerate of each other. I mean, essentially, all the architectural review boards that I've ever had dealings with are based on one premise is they want them to be aesthetically appealing. And in general, in the larger cities, what they're trying to prevent is a developer who comes in with a 50-lot subdivisions and builds 50 exact same houses that are plain, no aesthetic value to them whatsoever, but because there's a hot market, they can sell them, they can take their money and run. And so they started instituting the review process to ensure that there was some aesthetic accountability when it comes time to building homes or retail businesses. I mean, most of the cities then went on to say, you've seen McDonald's that are in the Southwest that have got to have stucco walls and no golden arches and things like that. And I'm not sure we need to get that involved in a little town like this. But I think it is something we want to look at as a planning commission when it comes time for subdivision approval. Is that not allowing somebody to come in and spend $100,000 on a house and ask $400,000 for it with no aesthetic appeal whatsoever. And once he's gone, we're stuck with that. People tend not to paint their homes and do their yard work and stuff like that in neighborhoods like that.
How do we not slide down the slippery slope of Leavenworth, Washington? I mean, I'm assuming you all know what Leavenworth, Washington is.
Oh yeah, the Bavarian Wonderland.
Yeah.
Well, and isn't there a precedent set already? I mean, we have manufactured homes coming in where single wides have been pulled out. We've had a very modest home built on between 2nd and 3rd and Pine, or I guess it's 4th and Pine. That, I mean, what's aesthetically pleasing? It's a nice looking home, but it's a plain looking home. And it's more modern looking than the homes around it.
Yeah, I mean, if I owned this city, I'd make everybody build 1800s to 1920s houses to match what downtown used to look like, but I don't. And I don't think we can really put that onerous measure on landowners.
Right.
But I think that there has to be some give and take when they come to the city for a building permit or for approval, that they also don't get to build an eyesore.
But yet again,
So
I mean,
I've been thinking a lot about this one, and the story you just told, Steve. Was there an actual different board, like an architectural review board
Yes,
that was
sir.
separate than the planning commission?
Yes.
And then if I were to draw that into our scale of operation here, it would seem like just violators of nuisance laws would be the ones that would be against our architectural standards. That we already have listed, right?
I'm not sure our nuisance laws cover building, do they?
I kind of meant like the power is in the one who reports the nuisance. Where with the same thing with the livestock, where it was like if it's deemed to be a nuisance and then the police officer goes over there and confirms that it's a nuisance, then the city sends you a letter and tells you not to do that. So if we are going to try to maintain some sort of architectural standards, wouldn't we need an architectural board to approve or deny those things?
Well, in some cities, the Architectural Review Board is a subsection of the Planning Commission. In some cities, they stand alone.
Yeah.
Because they also deal with things like historic preservation, which we do not. And I've often
Right.
wondered why. But
Okay. Okay.
it all depends on how far you want to take it, and I don't have an answer for that.
I don't either. It's tough. I don't know how you dip your toe into that without becoming crazy.
I think
Yeah,
from a
right.
practical standpoint, I think you have a give and take with the guy who's going to build the house, and you sort of lead him along as to what's the purpose for this, what's the purpose for that, might it look better doing this than that. And ultimately, you're giving him the final say so, but at least you have an input to it when it comes to you for permission to build.
So not to be crass,
so
but
you're stuck in an HOA.
yeah, it's like,
I mean,
yeah.
who wants to live in an HOA?
Yeah, not to
No,
be
I'm
crass,
not
but
talking about
how do we stop from having the Karen and Kyles walk down the street of Toledo, turning everybody
I
in?
don't like
Because
that.
Oh, no, no,
Yeah.
no, 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 you misunderstood. I'm certainly not talking about an HOA. I'm talking about when a builder comes to us for permission to build.
So you have, you say it's like a one home though.
right, so it's one of
So
our
who-
divides that happens
Yeah,
and somebody builds a
so
little house.
one home, so right now I can approve or disapprove, and what if somebody wants to do something very, retro or whatever, and I don't like it, or somebody wants to do something historic and I don't like it, just because I have that authority to say yes or no. How fair is that?
Not,
Dependent on who the designated person is here.
Yeah.
I see your
So,
point.
I agree with you, Michelle.
so could we come back to the wording that's already in the document, which we've already talked about with regards to developer agreement to conditions? That wording may suffice for those initial architectural drawings. And if it's an eyesore, it gets brought up during that review.
Oh, I think you're right on subdivisions. I think we are completely in the clear for doing that. And I understand the problems that would arise out of trying to apply that to single residences. Although I can
But
assure
we
you
do
there
have
are
a-
cities that do that.
But we also do have a couple opportunities for a developer to come in town and build 4 or 5
Well, okay, so
big
here's
houses.
a question.
I've seen really cool houses built out of containers.
Yep.
What I think is cool, somebody else might not think that's very cool.
I think we
So
have to keep an open mind.
Yeah.
could I ask a question, Michelle? So we have 2 relatively new homes, one on Augustus, the old derelict single wide that got towed away and a manufactured home was put on it. And then also a raised home on 4th and Pine. Those two didn't go through planning commission review, did
No.
they?
No, they got, no.
No, I think, and I can see where, Stephen's coming from, because on St. Helens, across from the cemetery, a person bought, 2 lots there. And it was a developer, and that's exactly what they did, was what Stephen said, put 2 same exact homes there, manufactured homes. I'm like, why would you do that? But there's nothing that can be done against that either.
And why didn't those construction projects go through the planning commission?
Because they don't have to.
Well, okay, so that's, all right, well, so maybe that's where we're needing to focus,
I mean,
is that if there is no review,
I mean,
then,
it is on any city has a building, like even the county. You don't go through your planning commission unless it's certain things like a subdivision. Or,
Okay.
there's certain items the commission does, and
Yes.
they don't get into each building permit.
okay,
Yeah, because that would be a nightmare.
okay.
And then just the pure time. Like if you wanted to build something, that just adds so much extra time too on that build.
Well, okay, so here's,
By the county anyway.
Well, for technical, yeah. They
Yeah,
are being
so
inspected
if we had to
technically.
go through planning commission on every building
Right.
permit. And then it's like, okay, something as simple as a roof permit, would that go through or not go through? What if somebody just wanted to, do a facelift on their house? And so that it would there's a lot of issues that
Is it
we
unre-
wanted all permits to go through.
is it unreasonable to say that non-owner builds, so that, that helps you for the guy who's gonna throw up 2 cheap houses, that he's just money focused as opposed to building his home?
He owned it at the time though, when he built it. And he sold it.
If they're in the lot size, then they don't need the planning commission, right?
What's that?
Correct.
Yeah, if they fit. Yeah.
Which is,
If they fit the lot size, they don't need planning permission.
right.
So that's, when it's a single family dwelling on a lot that in the appropriate size, it's not, doesn't matter whether it's, unless you're gonna put the building standards on every single home or every single building, and I don't like that idea at all.
It's counter to home or to owner rights. It
Yeah.
feels
Right.
counter. But that is still different than the guy who's gonna build 2 houses and flip it, even if he owns the land. It feels different.
so the 2 lots above the school, was that a redesignation of the lot lines? Was it a single lot that he split into 2?
It was already 2. So,
Oh.
yeah.
Okay. I don't know if there's an answer.
No, I think there's a lot to be couched in individual property rights in there that maybe we shouldn't touch.
Yep.
And save our battles when we actually have the teeth to engage, which would be like on subdivisions.
So I guess my question then would be, I have 10 acres and I want to subdivide and everything. So I want to do all of the streets, sewers, waters, all the things that need to happen, and then sell each lot individually. So at that point, then.
You don't have any architecturals yet anyway.
Mhm,
And then you're going to be dealing with individual lot owners. So
mhm.
you're going to have probably 10 different houses.
In reality, it should be, but it doesn't mean it has to be though, too, I guess. I don't know.
Well, I think
Well,
my pure
motivation
belief,
changes.
my pure belief is that
Mhm, mhm.
that's how I built my house. I bought a lot from a guy who came in with acreage and put all the streets and the lights and the sewer and the storm in. I bought a finished lot and built my house.
Mhm.
But I wanted my house to be different from everybody else's. So, no one ever gave me feedback on the architecture.
Mhm.
So I could see that if a guy wants to come in and develop property and sell individual lots, then you're going to work your way right back to the individual lot owner and what his preference is. And you're not going to be able to touch them under our current system. But I
Now-
don't think that you're going to get somebody who goes out and buys an individual improved lot is going to throw up a shanty. Whereas if that developer was there, he's got no vested interest in the community. He's got vested interest in his pocketbook. And
Well, I mean, I could show you lots of places all around Longview that you go into these little subdivisions and every home looks very similar.
yeah, because
You
they
know, it
could,
might be just flipped or something like that, and I'm with you.
And I can assure you
I
that-
don't like it.
I can
but-
assure you, in a lot of cities I've done work in, that would not have been allowed.
Nora, you said we're saying something?
No, I was just, I'm in agreement that, if each individual person's gonna buy a lot, they're not gonna put up all the same houses. Or if the person came in was just gonna build houses and they'll sell the houses off, it's still a subdivide, right? Because he owns them all.
Right.
And it's a subdivision and we do have the power,
Some say.
some say.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I mean, it gets down to the bottom line is our purpose is to do what's best for the community here. And recognizing our mission statement was just to protect personal property rights. Our business, our really our only avenue for protecting on a larger scale is to protect through subdivisions. And other than that,
And to stay out of lawsuit.
yeah, that too. But we have a lot of leeway when it comes to subdivisions to keep us out of lawsuits. But I could say you start getting sticky with individual homeowners and you could be receiving an envelope.
I personally don't want to be the person telling an individual homeowner that I don't like the color of their house,
I wouldn't appreciate it.
but I surely don't want somebody who's money motivated to come in and put a bunch of eyesores in.
I agree.
And it sounds like we're kind of protected that way with the process we have in place for subdivisions. I think.
Brian?
I'm thinking about that. It's basically, it seems like it starts to be a potential problem if somebody owns 2 or more lots next to each other.
So I own one of these 8,000 square foot lots where I've got half of it's empty and I divide it off and I build a house. Am I an owner or am I a builder? Is that what you're saying?
No,
he's
I'm
that
saying
you have
it's
two
that
lots beside each other.
The three lots on First, Eric, owned by the same person.
Yeah, so,
It's not a subdivision.
Right.
Where you have more say, it's an individual lot already divided.
But, okay, but what if that, let's use that as an example. What if that particular owner wanted to put a 5-unit condo complex across those 3 lots? Do they fall under something that the planning commission has authority over?
Well, if they put them
Do they become
over,
a subdivision after 4 lots?
Or whatever. So if they're combining the square footage of 3 lots to accommodate a multifamily dwelling, I'll just,
you have a street split in there. I think they could pull off 4 individual lots amongst the 2 tax lots. Maybe 3, maybe 4.
Do we change the language on multifamily?
I don't think so.
So in multifamily, do you still have to have 22,000 square foot?
Yeah.
Would it be able to?
That's why I was actually thinking that, and it does have an alley split between it, so.
So in that particular example, Eric, that owner wouldn't have to go through a review process.
We only get 3 houses out of that.
That's 3.04.
Okay. I don't think, we didn't touch that.
Yeah, we haven't touched multifamily dwelling at all.
So there's really only one spot downtown where this could really take place, correct?
Short of somebody buying an entire block up and dozing the whole thing.
Well, there's probably 2 places, Nora. There's one right behind us with
That with
the
the Quonset hut?
Yeah.
Quonset hut and the blank space east of that. And then potentially that single owner down on First.
There's below the middle school hill, like there's houses that are on Augustus, so behind Augustus, vacant land too.
There's a big blank lot, yeah. Oh, and
There's several.
Okay.
So if one
Okay.
person came in and bought them all up, could build.
so I'm less worried about the multi-dwelling because putting together 2,200 square feet downtown sounds more difficult. I mean, 22,000, I may be wrong. Without, you know,
Well, so are any of those? Because right now you have multifamily units at 25 units per acre. And none of those would accommodate that.
You have multifamily, how many per acre?
25. Section 202, establishment of land use zones.
well, I bet between, just to get crazy, between Pine and Washington and 4th and 5th, I believe that's where the mayor lives. Somebody
Oh,
could
with
buy
that
that
blank, with
entire
that
lot.
blank lot to the west, to the west of him.
It's already got 2 blank lots to the west. And so, I mean, we do have some land large enough to cause those problems if, you know, if we had a developer come in. And then was this what you're talking about, Michelle, Augustus over like between 5th and 6th, over closer to 6th? There's a big, that big triangle. It's that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I see big spots, like. And as Steve was saying last meeting, I mean, if houses go up enough, then the money or the feasibility of buying up an entire square and dozing it pencils out, especially if you're going to build cheap things. Which I'm pretty sure we don't want.
It's gonna be pretty difficult with lumber prices, the way we
It
build
would be
anything
right
cheap.
now. Could be right now.
Well, I mean, or say they came in and built a bunch of tiny homes that all looked alike, and
That'd be real fun, wouldn't it?
it all, yeah, all looked the same, looked like a homeless camp.
Would.
Well, I think, yeah, I mean, the other thing to ponder is, you know, what is considered an eyesore? You know, again, multiple similar looking homes might be okay for some people and not for others. It's kind of boring, but I don't know what is considered an eyesore.
If enough people make a complaint about it, I guess.
Yeah, but by that point, it might be too late. I mean, I think the crux of this original question is that, do you want the ability to have even some preliminary control over the planning, the planning phase? I mean, I agree with you that you don't want to be in someone's backswing every step of the way, but I would think that you would want to see the initial plan with some elevations so you have some idea of what's going in there.
I hear what you're saying, but like, so, I just built my shop. I don't want to live in a town where my shop permit would have had to go to
Planning commission.
planning commission to get approved.
Right.
Yeah, I think one thing that we're still dealing with today's dollars, when things get ramped up, the cost of land is going to go up along with it. So it's going to be pretty difficult to justify spending a couple $100,000 on a lot and throwing $100,000 tiny home on it.
This is true.
That's
Right.
pretty valid.
What's that?
It's valid.
No, it's valid. And even like lowering the lot size, people aren't going to bulldoze good houses down to split into two little houses. They're not going to make money doing that. They might bulldoze the houses that really need to be bulldozed anyway.
Absolutely.
And
We're
that's
hoping.
about it.
Yeah, that's kind of the hope.
That's kind of the hope.
is
Right.
Is the lot with a 70-year-old single wide on it
Yeah,
becomes cost effective to divide in half and sell away.
exactly.
Maybe let
Yep.
the person, retire where they need to be. Or get one of the homes.
So are you guys leaning towards leave it alone?
It sounds like we're protected on the subdivisions. So all we're really worried about is in town.
And we're only worried about that somebody owns a property next to each other. Correct.
Can you repeat that?
And we're mostly worried about people in town that would own multiple properties next to each other that would then develop them all sloppily or unaesthetically pleasing.
Yes, I think, yes.
Yeah.
I don't know. With the price of land and everything else, they would make more money to not do it sloppily. So
I agree.
That's in today's dollars and today's environment, but this document.
So the median price for housing now is $279 a foot. When it gets up to $400 to $450 a square foot, no one's going to want to build a shack.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't pay.
And just to be honest, we do have people coming from Portland and Seattle that are looking to get away. So they're looking for a nicer house. They're not looking for.
So Michelle, how often can this document be updated?
You could update it once a year.
So if we see a problem, we could address
Well,
it.
that's where I was headed, Eric.
And we can address it if we find an error. And I'm assuming that error could be that we didn't think somebody would come doze an entire block with the intent.
You can't put them on hold though.
No, once they're
Once they've already submitted.
right.
How did that read on the, but okay.
If they submit something, yeah, you can't hold them because you want to change the rules. Else you have a lawsuit.
Okay, so if
Post
somebody,
ex facto.
well, so if somebody buys up an entire lot and wants to put in 10 tiny homes, they're not a short plot anymore, right? They're a subdivision.
Yeah, but who's going to pay $400,000 for a tiny home?
Or they want to cram in 6 little homes, or, I mean, or so are you saying they're gonna, well,
I-
hey, if they're
I'm-
gonna put 4 nice houses in, I guess I'm not gonna complain.
Well, exactly, and I don't think if land prices raise like they probably are going to, then the necessity to build a house to match the land value is gonna fall upon the developer because he's gotta get his money back. So I don't see these being real issues.
Okay, so we're not, are we wrestling over non-issues? Then that sounds like what you're saying.
Well, I'm saying that our first blow out the door may find us a little bit head scratching until prices reach the level they need to be where that will go away. Because right now, we could doze that house over on Hemlock. It's only $175,000 for the whole half acre in the house and build 4 houses on it. $30,000 more for the city and hookup fees, right?
Not quite that much, but okay.
Isn't it $10,000 a unit?
And 3 more households,
Oh, yeah,
and
I'm
three-
not even a piece.
and 3 more households to shop at the store and to shop at,
Exactly,
you know,
exactly.
to buy hamburgers. from-
Increase the sales
Cities.
tax. Which, so a neighbor asked me, because they build, what would you call it? They build subdividable buildings, they're commercial buildings. And they just finished one, he says, and we got a dog groomer, and we got a brewer, and we've got a this and this and this and this, but we own the buildings, we lease them. Are we intending to do something to allow that type of retail expansion up towards Plummington?
I think we were kind of hoping that was gonna happen.
You could have more than one business and society building structure,
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
There's several.
Yeah, well, right down there are. God, I saw that land where the 29 homes goes, or were, nice piece of land.
Where's that?
Off of Toledo Vader Road at Plummington.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's,
I know, I look at where like, in Winlock where they're put the big Lowe's distribution and the views that's there, now it's just, you did have views of the mountain and now.
I get a few lows.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went by there doing the final stage of grading on the Prairie Heights or whatever, the Prairie
Grand
Estates.
Prairie.
Yeah, they're starting their last phase, and then I went up towards the dentist office, and they've just cleared another 10 or 15 acres by the cemetery that I believe is going to be housing. So
Yeah, I think it's apartments.
is apartments. Too much, too soon, too fast.
It's a little fast. Winlock's always been like that, though, right? Grow fast. Seems like
They haven't grown for so long and then they're just, a lot of growth at once and. I don't think they have all their ice. T's crossed. but They're trying to slow it down.
Yeah, I was reading in the newspaper and go, I don't know where in the hell she finds the time to be the city treasurer for the town of Winlock.
We work over there,
Yeah,
so, I am working over there,
yeah.
not full time. Is there
Okay.
anything,
Oh, yes, I had something, well, after meeting.
okay. So are you guys still confident about so far? And then, Brian, did you want to talk about a little bit about what you're trying to write up? I know that, you said it's about 10,000 square foot, current lot size is 8,000 square foot. And you guys are looking at going to 4.
Yeah, I'll make that change.
Yeah, I wrote that up, but it seems kind of general and vague, but I'm I can edit it in any way.
Did anybody else have any thoughts for Brian on that?
It seemed a little general and vague, I agree.
Positive thoughts for Brian on that?
Well, no, I think vague is not a bad thing.
Well, I think you were touching on all the points, Brian, in your discussion, and I don't know, I think under questioning, you may have to say a little bit more, but I mean, you touched on, people that are retired that could, subdivide and stay where they're at instead of being forced off.
Yep.
The ability to satisfy our housing needs.
I think the word flexibility could be worked in somewhere that allows property owners some flexibility.
Oh, okay. There you go.
I remember Mrs. Oberg, she's not in the city limits though, but over there on Jackson Highway, I met her at her mailbox one day and she was just went on and on about her inability to subdivide her property and sell it off, and just.
Well, I know that I had somebody contact me that's just on the other side of our urban growth area. And his dad has since passed on, and he was always told by his dad that he already had it all platted out and everything. Well, he hadn't, and it's in RED 20. And he's like, well, what does that mean? He didn't have a clue what it meant. And like, it means you can have one resident per 20 acres. He's just went off. I'm like, we're outside the city limits. Nothing I can do.
Yeah.
So.
Go to the board of supervisors.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate because a lot of zoning and stuff does happen and people don't realize what it means to them, and it's hard.
So in terms of what I wrote, you guys want me just to talk more about those things rather than just list them? Hello?
So-
We're thinking, Brian.
So are you guys talking about when we present it to the city council?
Yes.
Well, I
Okay.
think
So,
I think these words are going to be part of some sort of cover document. My take is that we want to give them as much information as possible before city council. So, the pitch and then focusing on just the changes that we've made.
so my fear is that they're going to freak out about the lot size. So I don't know if there's a quick way we can let them know that it's not gonna affect as many lots as maybe they're thinking, because it's not gonna end up with houses right next on top of each other like down in Beaverton.
I thought that they were made aware of that at one
We
point.
did
in time.
propose.
Well, it's in the 20-year comp plan. So
Right.
if it didn't raise eyebrows then,
Okay, all right.
well, I mean, granted, we're now down in the nitty-gritty that really impacts. But if there was any friction, I would have hoped it would have been brought up at the comp plan.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Okay.
I didn't see it, although almost nothing was said back. So
Well, we called it out.
yes,
Yeah.
Well, I think I'm prepared. I think I'm going to be prepared to talk about it.
Okay, that's just my only concern. I just wanted to voice that.
And I like what we've done with this. I think it's a good compromise on the 6,000 square feet for new subdivisions. So
I think that's a good compromise too.
yeah.
So the next
I
step,
think what Nora's talking about is like, I'm sure, I know we went to the council before, we proposed it, and they just kind of approved it, didn't say anything back. But there's just going to be some chatter, I guess you could call it, from some folks, even though we're going to make a public input on the agenda, even though we've done it twice now, even though we've talked about it, we'll still get a few people
even though,
complained at the hardware store that they didn't have a say on that or something.
even
like
though
that.
this meeting is open and somebody could be here
Yes.
and saying it, yes.
Yes.
So we still have to go through a public hearing on this too.
Right.
Okay.
And that's after the council, before the council.
Well, what I'm kind of saying is let's propose it to the council before we go to public hearing, because if the council has any flack, then taking it that much further is just a waste of our time.
I agree.
You know, so let's get some things where and so they're not gonna like approve it, but they could give, yeah, that looks good, or, you know, let's.
Well, they'll approve to go to public hearing, correct?
Yeah, and then, even with like the other document we've done, the planning document, they still have one more reading on the ordinance. So we had to wait till it passed the 60-day review from the state and all those groups, and I heard nothing, so.
So it's been 60 days.
Yeah, it's been over the 60 days.
Woohoo!
Council had their first reading at the last council meeting and approved it. And so the second reading will be this coming Monday.
Oh, good.
I hate to think we could have submitted green eggs and ham and had that passed too.
And 5 days after publication, it's law.
Well, my take is that Brian's words and then some words around our changes is what would be submitted with the new document to council.
And so we have something that you're going to fill out and then we have supporting documents that go with that.
Well, the supporting
Request.
documents will be what Brian's coming up with.
Okay.
And like Cindy, they said something too with the major changes.
Okay.
And I'll be happy to take a stab at that for you guys to review.
Great.
So Brian, do you have what you need to possibly do another round on your pitch?
Brian,
Yes, sir?
do you
Hello?
have bandwidth to do another pass?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And you have enough feedback?
And yeah,
Yeah, I do. So I'm just going to elaborate a little bit more on this point. I'm going to use the word flexibility, and I'm going to talk about the changes that we made in the comp plan. Is that
Oh,
what he said?
well, that's interesting.
well, I think that's the goal. So they basically it's the changes area that you pulled out, Cindy,
Right,
put with words wrapped around that.
right. But what Brian's alluding to is basically, hey, you actually approved smaller lot sizes in the 20-year comp plan, and here,
Well,
I'm not
here-
sure that wouldn't be a good reminder.
yeah,
right? I kind of like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
it with a positive spin.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Sorry, I used the word
And
spin.
you already approved it. Neener.
Right. That was exactly what I was
Yeah,
thinking.
yeah, that's exactly how I was gonna put it. Late nights getting to you, Brian?
And we asked them how many actually read the comp plan.
This is a good meeting. I think that we're about done, right?
I think we're good. Does anybody have anything else to add?
Man,
And the date of the
So,
17th.
yeah, we'll, at our next meeting, we'll just go over any of the comments that comes from Brian, and then we'll plan on that next, put them to council at the very next council meeting, which would be probably June. The first part of June, and if we don't meet 17th.
Oh, you proposed Monday the 17th, Michelle.
yeah, I think Monday
Is that
is
city
this,
council, Monday the
Yeah.
17th?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay, when does this group meet again? I don't have a calendar.
In 2 weeks, right? So
into, before then.
the week before that.
The week before
third-
that,
Third
No,
Thursday of the month.
yeah,
That's the 20th. It'd be
yeah,
No.
after.
afterwards.
no, your normal,
Yeah, it's after the council meeting.
yeah, the 20th is your next scheduled meeting.
I think it's the first part of June then.
Yeah, that's why I was thinking June.
Okay.
So is there, well, could we be okay with the cover document in email? And still make the 17th?
We can't go back and forth without having a public.
Oh,
Meeting.
right.
And so you see why everything takes forever in
Yes. government.
Well, could we briefly meet a week from today? Or 2 weeks from today?
Can a
Oh,
week
yeah,
from today.
Michelle is out.
Oh,
Well, if we don't need any prep work from you, Michelle, could we meet?
You want to meet the 8th? Or
I have a meeting on that night,
the 6th? You have a meeting that night?
on Thursday night. I have next week, I have meetings Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday nights.
How about the 13th?
I should. This long 13th. I think that's good. Something's going on the 13th. I think it's during the day.
Oh, Toledo Thursday market.
I wouldn't mind pulling us in if we could.
I don't have a problem.
pulling it in from the 13th?
And we could do probably just all Zoom if it's just going over Brian's document.
Yeah.
Are you guys good with that?
On the 13th?
Yeah,
And that's as a work session.
as a work session.
So we can
Okay.
keep it nice and short and sweet and be ready for the.
I think based on, Brian's edits, I can put something together pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think so too.
Okay,
So we gotta be ready by the 13th, we're saying?
yep.
So
Alright.
do we have to meet in the evening?
I don't have to.
What time's your Thursday market start?
Well, it starts at 2, but
You're probably fixing stuff, huh? Getting everything ready before then.
no, we hired a market manager, so now Carol is just doing baking, so,
But you're not making yourself though?
well, I bake, but I do that earlier in the morning.
Oh, okay.
Well, does it have to be on the 13th? What about
What time are you
Wednesday?
thinking about, Michelle?
What
Well,
about Wednesday, the 12th?
Hold on, we're trying to get an hour.
yeah, that's what I'm kind of trying to figure out, because like we meet on the 13th, I don't work on Fridays, the packet gets put together on Friday. So if there's any changes or edits or whatever, it's hard for me to. Yeah,
I'm pretty wide open on when
Wednesday,
I could do
the
Wednesday.
12th,
we could do that.
Is that the second Wednesday of the month?
probably, yes. Is that a problem?
Yeah, it is.
Okay,
What about Tuesday, the 11th?
Tuesday I can do.
I can do.
Me too.
Depends on what time.
Tell us when.
what's good for you, Stephen?
Well, it'll be Zoom.
Yeah, Zoom only, you could be anywhere.
You want to hear what I'm really doing Tuesday on the 11th? I have an auction,
An auction.
and so I'm waiting for something like 10 years to get my hands on it.
Ah,
Does it close at 5 p.m.?
Well, the auction goes from like 10 to 4.
Oh, it's in person?
Well, it's in Philadelphia, so I'll be at my phone and on my computer, but
but you're 3 hours ahead.
yeah.
That'll be
For your time? Oh,
So
That'll be 3 hours ahead of us.
no, you're not going to Philadelphia, are you?
No,
No,
not
he'll be
directly.
here, so
He'll be here.
Philadelphia before we went here, correct?
Yeah, I'd have to really check on those, but yeah, I mean, if you want to do it like late afternoon, I could do it on.
Yeah, that's what we're thinking.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
That would be fine.
Yeah.
Nor, what's the earliest you could do?
Well, if I have prior, I can do
Like on a Tuesday?
anytime. I mean, really, was it gonna take a half hour, hour tops?
Oh, I would think a half hour.
Okay, as long as I know about it ahead of time and tell them ahead of time, I can do it whenever.
Do you want to
Me too.
do 5 o'clock?
That'd be fun.
5 o'clock, would that work then?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Great.
let's do 5 o'clock then on the 11th.
Alrighty. And then Eric and Cindy, do you guys have bandwidth for me to give you a call and we can go over some words together?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Just let us know when you have the bandwidth.
Oh yeah. I have varying amounts of bandwidth throughout the day now.
All right, end it.
All right, yeah, just ping us. We'll make the time.
Great. Anything else before I end the work session?
No.
Right, it's over.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.